They did very well, didn't they? So, thank you. Let's talk a little bit about what is emotional intelligence. How have we traditionally defined intelligence historically? 2 letters. IQ. IQ, or intelligence quotient, is how we typically measure intelligence. And perhaps you've taken an IQ test, where they have you do analyze some problems, maybe some word problems, and whatever they do. And then they put the paper through the machine, and it spits out a what? A number. And for the rest of your life, you're 121. Or 107, or whatever. And the notion of IQ worked pretty well for many, many decades, until some very smart social scientists and researchers came along and said, there's a whole other way of being intelligent that has very little to do with your school smarts. Okay, if you're still working, that's fine. Finish up. A score of 23 to 25 in any one box is pretty good, right? A score of 20 to 22, not bad. A score of 17, 18, 19, room for improvement. 15 and 16, I'm starting to get concerned. Less than 15, probably a pretty big area of opportunity for you to strengthen. Make sense? So here's what I'd like you to do next. Of the 6 subtotals on page 2, put a check mark next to your highest score. Your highest score. Now, if you have a tie, you can put up to 2 check marks. So in other words, if you have 2 25s or 2 24s, that's okay. Check mark next to the high score. I'd like you to put an X. Everybody with me? So, check mark next to the high score, X next to the low score. Little indication or mark next to any item you scored 3 or less. Because now I'm going to give you an opportunity at your table to discuss your result. Did the assessment surprise you? Was there anything that you went, wow, I'm really doing well in that area? Or perhaps, gee, I need to maybe think about how I can strengthen that. Or perhaps the assessment served to reinforce what you already sort of knew about. I've done this with thousands of clients, and many of them go, well, I already knew I had a bad temper. And this just proves this use is safe. So what I want to ask you to do is share at your table what was your high score, what was your low score, which represents perhaps your biggest area of opportunity, and pick maybe 1 or 2 items that you scored yourself a 3 or lower, or maybe even a 2 or a 1. That would really indicate an area for you to think about, wouldn't it? Okay, go ahead, have that conversation, and just enjoy the conversation with your colleagues. I never got any better than that. That's all. You know, and then eventually, you know, you can play stuff like. So don't overlook the power of the small wing. Remember my music lessons when I was a child, and how my teacher would say, "Great, keep it up. See you next week, Mike. You're doing great." He never said, "That's no big deal. I didn't play that." All right. Now on the downside, just as small wins have the power to make people feel really great, setbacks can have the opposite. Even seemingly minor setbacks can really set in a work like that. And you know that's true, don't you? When you have a little setback at work that just doesn't that throw you off for the rest of the day? You can't stop thinking about it. Someone else goes, "Really? That's what you're upset about? What's the big deal?" And you go, "I know, but..."